And how many times have you tried doing that and have any success? Hannah asked Will as she opened and closed the cash register out of pure boredom. I tried flying 3 times so far. I flap my arms super hard, and I swear if I jump and flap, I get a little bit higher. Will responded, spinning the bag wheel. Hannah chuckled. But no successful attempts yet? Yeah, it's stupid. Something keeps me down. I don't get it. Why do birds get to fly, but stupid humans can't? Will replied. Gravity, Hannah replied. Will looked confused, which made Hannah laugh even harder. Your homeschool from DIP didn't cover basic science, did it? She asked him. It was a little sped up. Will responded, now looking at the customer who had entered their aisle, plopping down a bag of hard candy on the belt. Hannah moved her foot to the pedal, watching as the bag slowly moved toward her, now grabbing and scanning it. Is that all for you? She asked the customer, Will noticing how much water was on his clothes. Where did you go swimming at? Will's curiosity asked. What? Oh yeah, I was hooping down at the Rochester courts. You know, the 3 courts they just made outside got full glass backboards and a nice court. Got some of the best hoopers in the area showing out too. Even got a kid named Victor. No one knows where he came from, but is like 10 feet tall and no one can stop him. Hannah nodded. I've heard about those courts. Took a lot of approval and fundraising to make that happen, right? Yeah, the customer replied. Took 3 years for the project to be fully complete, but in my opinion, it was 100% worth it. You all should check it out. From Saturday to Sunday, the 3 courts are constantly being used from 12 to 9 at night. The customer now left, presumably back to the courts where he had come from. Were you or Nick ever into sports as kids? Hannah then asked Will. I don't know. What do you mean I don't know? You two grew up together, right? Hannah asked. Yeah, Will said, ending his words abruptly. You are so weird sometimes, but we should go check out those courts. You ever watched a basketball game? She told him. Will shook his head, Hannah replying with a smile. Let's go check it out after we get done with our shift. I'm sure Nick can drive. I arrived to the store at 4 p.m., picking up Will and Hannah, who I had both routinely drove to work the past couple of weeks. So, we need to make a detour, Hannah said as she entered the car. And what's that? I replied to her, wondering if a new shop had opened that she would want to go to, remembering the last ice cream shop to open in a town nearby and Hannah forcing me to drive there to check it out. So you know the Rochester Community Center. They made 3 basketball courts over there that have been pretty busy. We got an invite to go watch some of the games. Hannah told Nick, who replied, I can't remember the last time I watched a basketball game live, must have been in high school. The hip-hop musical could be heard from the parking lot when we arrived, sometimes being outshined by the large crowd of 100 people that surrounded the courts line, outplaying the music with any big moment going on in the game. A quick 3 game-winning shot and a dunk would make you think a rocket ship had taken off from the court with how loud it got. We stood on the outskirts of the second court, ourselves unable to even see the first court surrounding floor with how many people were packed in there. We started watching, a quick 2-handed dunk being the most exciting play, but as the game continued, we found ourselves looking more and more to the first court's game, or at least a player. His name was Victor, or Vic for short, which everyone referenced him as when talking about him. And from what people were saying, he was the legend that they built him up to be. A cut to the rim, grabbing the ball and dunking on the help defender. A lob thrown too high, but Victor still reaching up and slamming the ball through the hoop in traffic. The paint being covered, Victor catches the ball from near half court, defender coming, the shot goes up, and it goes in. It reminded me of NBA players. Well, not reminded. I really believe this Victor player could be an NBA player. Or a pro somewhere. I know other countries have leagues. Why was he here, in a small town from Nebraska? We continued to watch him, learning that the court worked as a winner stays, the losing team going back to the third court, while the winner from the second court moves up to the first to compete. It was interesting on how that worked, how organized it was. They also had refs, which were other players that were resting and made calls. But in reality, they didn't need refs, at least not on the first court. Almost everyone had their phone out, recording every possession, I think waiting on Victor to blow their minds. And if they had to review footage at all, you could get 5 different angles of the same play. We were there till 8, ourselves only leaving when Will had told me 3 times he was hungry, with Hannah only having to tell me once, and that pushed us to go home. We went back to the trailer, myself calling Dip ahead of time, asking if he made anything. Once inside, I could smell what he had started to make, a dish which he called goulash, which was broken down meat, pasta shells, and black olives mixed in one, well, goulash. We sat down at the table. 5 minutes later, Dip putting bowls filled with the meal in front of us. Will dramatically acting like he hadn't eaten in days, slurping the meal up, then getting up for seconds. "What were you all up to today?" Dip said, I think to the group, but stared at me directly. "I worked and made money, Dip. You gotta be proud of me. They fired someone today, but they didn't fire me. I'm better than that guy," Will said. Jonah had been coming in high every day for the past 2 weeks. It was only when he tried scanning the hairs of a baby to ring it up when they finally had a reason to fire him, Hannah said with a chuckle. "And after work?" Dip said, completing his slight laugh break from Hannah's comment. "There's a new park with basketball courts. We went there after and watched some of the games. There's one really good kid named Victor. Crazy athlete that dunked over and over, easily the best player there," I explained to him. "Interesting, but nothing strange at all, just a couple basketball games. Everyone was human," Dip asked. "Yeah, why? Is everything good?" I asked him. "Yeah, just when you get a moment, there's something on the bed to look at," Dip said. I nodded, then leaving down the hallway, seeing the journal on the bed. I picked it up, opening the page to the crocodilian salamander creature we had encountered a month ago. I then flipped the page, a new creature, one that was human-like but with an elongated body. Its face was also strange, a longer chin which made the entirety of his face have a slight curve, almost like a banana. I put the journal down, then walked out of the room. "What was in the room?" Hannah asked. "We have a new case that we got assigned to. Me and Dip will take some time to investigate it." "I love that you guys do that, solve crimes, help people," Hannah said. Dip replied, "Thank you, myself feeling uneasy. I really like Hannah. She was my first friend I have had since we moved down here. I didn't want to keep lying to her about why we had moved down. The guilt built up in me. I then thought about my guilt for my parents, knowing that they know that I am dead, killed by a violent creature. That one really sunk my heart. We ate and talked for the next 3 hours, myself eventually giving Hannah a ride home. At the end of the ride, she gave me a goodbye kiss, then saying, "I will see you tomorrow." I nodded to her as she left, myself now placing my forehead on the steering wheel. "Fuck," I muttered to myself, knowing the dangers I could be bringing her in. Worst part is without her knowledge. I drove off, telling Dip and Will good night before finding my bed. I woke up early the next morning, doing a daily routine of taking Will to the grocery store for work, waving at Hannah as she walked in as well. I then went home and picked up Dip, getting to the court at 10. People were already there on the first court, with a small crowd, but still, a crowd. Me and Dip scouted the area out, trying to figure out if anything here could be what we saw in the journal. At around 11:30, we had figured out what was from the journal, or at least what Dip believed to be from the journal. He walked in, Victor, the 8-foot stature of the man walking onto the court. "Well, go talk to him," Dip said to me. "What and say what? Are you from an alternate dimension in which someone is from and trying to hunt my brother?" I asked him. "Well, eventually, but you need to befriend him," Dip said. I looked back at Victor, nearly a swarm of people around him as he walked down the edge of the court. "I think he has enough friends," I said to him. "Yeah, but you can make him your friend. You got Hannah to say she would be, so that can't be much harder." I rolled my eyes, then walking over to him and joining the group crowded around him. "Victor!" I yelled out, loud enough for him to hear it over everyone else's bickering as he turned around. He looked at me strangely, then asked, "I know you?" I shook my head. "No, but you're going to want to become a very close friend of mine." Victor laughed. "And why's that?" "Because I know where you came from," I said to him. This made an even more confused look on Victor. "I came from my mama and dad's balls, kid." Victor replied, "I think you're lying, and I need to speak with you privately." I replied back, making sure he knew I meant business. Victor laughed. "That's not going to happen, fan." "I need it to happen," I told him. Victor nodded, then moved out onto the court, the ongoing game stopping as he entered the middle circle of the court. Everyone stared at him, Victor calling ball, then being given the ball by the current players. "I need a warm-up. First player to 7. You win. You get your inclusive interview on where I came from." My stomach sunk, knowing this might be the only chance to get him off the court with me. We checked up the ball, Victor immediately posting me up from the three-point line, now stepping back, hitting a fadeaway three which didn't even touch the net as it went in. The next possession Victor drove, myself jumping. Why am I jumping? And he dunked it, hard. I rolled back over myself as he hung from the rim, hearing, "You gotta try harder to get close to me," from Victor. The third point wasn't much better, with him stopping at the free throw line, then throwing it off the backboard, bringing the ball down to my head level, then slamming it into the hoop, the sound reminding me of a firework exploding. "You're not human," I say to him, rechecking the ball. "I know, that's why I attract a crowd," he said as I got the ball back, seeing the entire court outlined by people now watching us. I stood, in fear, embarrassment, in my stupidity of doing this as the crowd cheered, Victor spinning like a ballerina in the air before another two-handed dunk. "Screw this," I said to him as he went back to check up the ball. "I'm done. You win, but I'm going to tell Gallon about this," I said, walking off the court. Victor froze for a second, then replying, "Who the fuck is Gallon?" Chuckling, which was contagious as everyone started to laugh with him. I went back to Dip. His comment, "I assume the first time you met Hannah was better than that shit show." "Yeah, it was a lot better. Also, I don't think he's our guy." I replied back to him. We spent the next hours searching the other patrons on the court, none being outstanding people that could be from another dimension, at least in my eyes. We then sat on a park bench, myself and Dip tired, even having to call Hannah and ask her to drive Will home while we investigate. "You still want that exclusive?" a voice said from behind. I looked up, seeing Victor walking toward us, his long frame blocking at least 3 of the 6 people behind him. "Yeah, if that's possible," I said to him. "Yeah, it is," Victor said back, now looking back to the crowd behind us. "Give me 20 minutes. They want a one-on-one with this guy." Then pointing his 2 thumbs at himself. "Egomaniac," I heard Dip mutter. We walked 20 feet away from the crowd. The few stragglers that followed pushed back by Dip till us 3 were alone. "Does Gallon know?" He went as soon as everyone left. "No, not yet, but I need to know information," I told him in a serious voice. "You can't tell him I left. He wanted me to fight and I couldn't. I love it here. If I go back, he will kill me and eat me. He's told my people that we are nothing but an entree to him." Victor replied, "Well, answer us this. How do you know Gallon?" Victor now looked confused. "Are you serious? Everyone know who Gallon is. He has put his face on everything. I grew up knowing the great and powerful Gallon." I nodded my head. Good use of words for our leader. Still hoping he wouldn't notice how much shit I was speaking out of my mouth. "And what fight did he want you in?" I asked. "It's disgusting you treat him as such, this incredible leader." "But I don't know the fight he wants us to take. He has already conquered everything in his search for power, besides the wastelands, but there's nothing out there except this prophet. but it's a myth. No one can ever outpower Galen. What prophet? I asked him. No, you are men of Galen. I speak of anything that might take over you. Both will report and have me killed, Victor said. We are not with his dictatorship, Victor, but we want to know all about it so we can stop it. Dip said to him. What? You lied to me? Victor said, looking down on Dip. We might know of this prophet you speak of, however. Powers of the link between your world and this one, Dip said. The next beginning, yes, how? Victor asked. I just do, but we need to know, what does Galen want? Dip asked. Power, that's the only thing that drives him. He has slowly lost his, and now he is spent backtracking, trying to get what is his, and it's made Loka a hell to be a part of. My older generation spoke of a peaceful land, one that is now gone under Galen's rule. Victor went. Me and Dip both took a second, realizing that his world, the smoke world, Loka, has been taking over much like the Soviet Union taking over Russia. Where do you stay at? I asked him. A small room. I think it's called an apartment. Victor replied, adding, I get a bunch of money from these fans to pay for it. They also have me talking to someone, a scout or something, for the scares. Okay, you have anything else about Galen that could be useful to us? Not much, except that he has been focusing on making portals around this area. I'm not sure why. I just saw an easy way to escape to this world. Victor replied. How did you know you would just blend in? Dip asked. Victor looked around, then extended his 5-fingered hand, then the black skin tone changing into a deep purple, and the 5 fingers merging into 3. The rest of his body remained the same, and once he saw, we understood he could change shape, he reshaped his hand to a humankind. Can I go back now? I don't want to draw more attention than I already have, Victor asked. Sure, Dip said, Victor standing up and running to the courts. Soon he might be a professional basketball player. Crazy to think that he thinks he will get more attention from us than that, Dip remarked. I laughed. He's just trying to fit in. They could both feel the heat wave as the reactor inside exploded, the smoke cloud hovering looming above their heads as they jumped on their metallic scooter, zooming down the road with countless lifeless and injured soldiers crowding the path as the scooter let out its electric buzz as it zooshed by. Oh, I bet they felt that one, Perry told Alos excitedly, looking back at the explosion, a smile almost brighter than the orange-red fire itself that was now emerging. We just need to get back to our ship in Grotiva. Relay that this planet is now free from Vulcan rule. Alos reminded Perry, knowing mass destruction was something he loved the most, no matter if it was for a good or bad cause. Yeah, sure, I just loved how they let us go free with this one. Like how many Vulks did we kill? 1,000, 10,000. Doesn't matter, this shit's too much fun to care about the details. Alos just shook his head, their hovering bike zooming across the plains. They reached their ship soon after, taking it and flying to Grotiva. Among their arrival, they were celebrated, the Grotivian people being free of Vulcan rule, which had lasted for nearly 100 years. The ceremony started soon after, with Alos and Perry being shuttled to a banquet hall. They walked down a red carpet, eventually entering a Colosseum feeling room, where they were surrounded by thousands upon thousands of Grotivians cheering them. At the end of the carpet was Lady Havia, leader of the Grotivian nation, and the one who had recruited them to fight for them to begin with. She smiled to both of them as they stood in front of her, placing peace medals, which were metal and triangular emulets, upon their chests. Alos thought back of hearing how much Perry despised these type of medals, knowing this would be a part of the process if they succeeded in their mission. Alos thought deeper, though, looking around at the now cheering civilization, a group of people who felt they were in debt to them, one grateful and willing to do anything for repayment. Alos then looked at Lady Havia, who asked Alos, "Do you have anything to say to the group?" She then motioned to the heightened podium, a small device which looked to be a square microphone set in the middle. Alos approached, stepping up and now feeling the cheers of the crowd become louder and louder. He knew that this support would be needed in the future, one where he had dreamt it wouldn't become true. And with that, Alos begun his speech. Allies,